Okay, all about ETs. Let's smash this fucking shit.
Okay, we are live. Welcome everyone to the River's Edge. I have the most extreme pleasure of having Alexander Quinn back on, the Starseed extraordinaire. He wrote a book about it. Hey, turn that down.
Sorry. How you doing? You good?
YouTube. Alexander and I are going to be talking about ETs, everything about ETs. Alexander, can you remind everyone the name of your book and when they can buy it and where?
Okay, so my book, it looks like this.
Yes.
Starseeds, what's it all about? I was offered a publishing deal with an advance from Ozark Mountain Publishing, who is Dolores Cannon's publisher. So it's really great validation because I spent 8 months writing this book. It's 7 years research and actual personal experiences. So to have one of the biggest names in the metaphysical world actually say, hey, this is a really serious book, we want to have it as part of our family, it basically means it's something that you might want to consider buying, because if it's good enough for them, then it's basically not an amateur kind of book. It's like a pro book. I'm actually not going to go with them. I'm actually self-publishing, but it'll be out in about a month or two. And there's a lot of stuff in there about ETs, ascension, galaxy, hidden truths. There's some stuff in there I couldn't even publish because my publisher wouldn't allow it. But yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff in there, and it basically clues you up on everything that's going on and why we're at the moment in human consciousness, and links it all together.
Awesome. And where did you say we can buy it? On Amazon, or where are we going to buy it?
Yeah, so you can buy it on Amazon. Also, if you go to my YouTube, the book, the link will be there on YouTube, and it'll be under all the videos, in all the videos underneath in the description.
Awesome. Okay. Hey, those of you guys watching, can you let us know if you can hear the volume's okay on my end and also on Alexander's, if you don't mind? And there's a delay in the feed, so when your comments come in, it's like 30 seconds past when I talk. So I'll look for the comments, see if you guys can hear us. But okay, there's so many questions about ETs, and I am a total novice. I know a gray alien. You can't see Perry, and you have yours. I love that, your ET behind you. So I don't even know where to begin. How many types of ETs? Or maybe we should start from the beginning. Like, where did this all begin? Who came first, the ETs or us? Are we descendants of the ETs? You tell me where we should start, because you're more well-versed in this.
Okay. Creator God came first, right?
Right.
Creator source God. So you hear the ETs, the angels, all of them talking about creator source. All of them talk about that. So creator source came first. Then the universes, because there are multiverses, there are loads of different universes. And when universes collide together, sometimes when universes collide together, they form another universe. But that's a whole nother idea altogether. But we'll work on that some other time, because some of the ETs have come down and channeled that, your idea about a big bang, well, some completely random bang just randomly happened 14 million years ago, and now we've got all this stuff. Something can't always just be created out of nothing. So there was always a universe to some degree, but we can get into that later on. So we got creator source, then we got the universe, which has all of our stars and our galaxies and everything. And I'll talk about how many stars there are out there and why it's actually impossible mathematically that we're alone. But they want us they want to make you believe that we're alone, because it's all about control, conquer, and divide. And then they don't have to admit about the anti-gravity technology and free energy and all the other technologies that they've been hiding since about 1947. We'll get into that too. Then we had all the ETs, extraterrestrials, but actually we're extraterrestrials ourselves. So we really need to break the habit of, like, we're human, they're extraterrestrials. We're actually extraterrestrials ourselves, because when we get advanced enough that we can get out of our own solar systems and go to other planets, we will appear in other people's skies.
Right.
So, and then they'll look up at us and go, "Oh my God, it's ETs," and we're like, "Well, hey, we're just other beings, just like you, but
Right.
yeah, we're just a little bit further on down the road." So the Earth has been around supposedly for, I think, 4 billion years, something like that. But the Arcturians, the Pleiadians, and other extraterrestrials, I'll talk about who they are and where they come from. They've been visiting here for a very, very long time. And before the humans, there were a different couple races of humans. Not like just the one that we have now, but there were different heights and different colors and stuff, and it boiled down to one. And now we've got the one that we've got now with varying different degrees of genetics. We've been crossbred by a lot of ETs that have come here: reptilians, Syrians, Arcturians, Pleiadians. So the Anunnaki have played with our DNA. So we're a crossbreed of a lot of ETs, and a lot of ETs look at us and they look at our DNA.
What about the one behind you? What is that one?
That is an Arcturian, and the Arcturians come from the Boots constellation. But I'll tell you where they all come from shortly. So basically, they say we have 99% junk DNA in our system. It's a lot of that's being activated now. That's why we're getting ascension symptoms, DNA upgrades, all this kind of stuff. And for you that are interested, look up Barbara Marciniak. She talks about something called Enki's gift. It's basically something to do with the Anunnaki, which is a time-activated DNA encoding thing, which wakes us up. And if I'm going too fast, just slow me down, cut me off.
Just want to say thank you, Steve Swanson, for the super chat. Much appreciated. Okay, carry on.
So we are part DNA ourselves. A lot of the ET races look at us and they look at our DNA, and they look at it's almost like our blood, our DNA is like royalty in terms of ET, because we have so many different types of ET DNA in our system. And the Greys, they wanted to take our DNA. That's why they made a deal with President Eisenhower and so on and so forth. So we can talk about that too. But basically, yeah, so source creator, then the universe, then the ETs, then humans, aided by the Pleiadians who came along in Lemuria 50,000 years ago. And here we are with a whole lot of ET DNA, which is sitting in us right now.
What about the animals?
So the animals, if I'm honest, I don't 100% know, but if you look at the channels by Barbara Marciniak, who worked a lot with the Pleiadians talk about Earth as the living library. So they basically say that Earth, a lot of the ETs look at Earth as like like the jewel in the galaxy, where a lot of DNA, it's a massive DNA storage unit almost. So a lot of people think, and including channel messages by the Pleiadians, that a lot of the animals that we have are actually different types of beings that are out there in the universe, but the DNA is stored in them. Obviously, they look like they're in different forms, but so it could be, from what I've seen and heard and insider stuff, that the animals are also partly to do with ET stuff, but it's stored in animal bodies.
Okay. So how many different ETs are there? Do we know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the exact number. I mean, there was, somewhere in 2000, there was a list of 144, but there's actually hundreds of thousands in our galaxy and in the universe. There's many, many, many types. And if you basically look at, the main ones that people know about are the Arcturians, which is this guy. They come from the Boots constellation, and the main sun is Arcturus. And I think that's 30 million light years away. That's very, very close, basically. In our neighborhood, that's super close.
That's really close.
So for in terms of ET travel, that's actually super close. So the Arcturians are our neighbors. Then you get the Pleiadians, who come from the Pleiades. And if you look up, I'll draw. You want me to actually draw this for you? You can actually. So the Pleiadians come from the Pleiades. So the best way to see their constellation, I'll draw this for you now on a bit of paper, is if you look at the Orion constellation, and then you've got this is known as the Seven Sisters. So it's got 7 stars. So you got the Orion constellation here. Where is it? The Orion constellation here. And you've got Betelgeuse up here, which is an orange planet. The way you follow it is you go from the belt of the Orion up like this. This one's called Aldebaran, where you get the Vril with the long hair, the psychics who worked with Hitler during the Second World War. That's another story altogether. And then you get the Pleiades up here. So when you look up the night sky, follow the belt from the Orion up to Aldebaran, and then you get the Pleiades. This is where the Pleiadians are from. You also get...
I want to talk about also, have you seen an ET ships? And we'll go into that too. And also people are asking, I saw some questions about how do you know if you're a star seed? So we can start with, have you ever seen an ET?
I have seen an ET. I have had experiences on board craft in the astral, and I have seen an ET. I've seen a ship in the sky. Yeah, all 3. Check all 3. Yeah.
When did you see your first ET, or has it only been one time?
It's only been one time. I am very fortunate in the UK to be living on top of a building. So I live on top of a building by the river, and there's not too much light pollution here. So I was basically woken up one night, and I had an overwhelming desire to go to the roof and look at the stars. I can't tell you why. My other half was fast asleep, and I went to the roof, and I was sort of guided to look at a certain direction, and I was looking at one of the stars, and basically it started moving like this across the sky, and then just shot off like that. So it's not very often you look at the night sky and you see a star which was stationary, and then it starts moving, and then just goes like that, like at the speed of light.
Yesterday in the sky, I was out at 5 a.m. I was out looking upside, and there was just two stars actually, and they both started moving, and then they disappeared into the sky.
Okay, well, you saw an ET craft for sure.
Really?
Likely, very, very likely. And it's not
a shooting star.
And it's not a shooting star is very, very quick, and it burns out very, very quick. A shooting star is just like that. An ET craft, this was an ET craft because it's going very, very slowly, and then it speeds up. Shooting star is continuous. And also the thing about satellites is a satellite is orbiting around the Earth. So when you get a refraction of light off the back of a satellite, it blinks for a minute and then disappears. An ET craft stays luminescent all the way. So it's something completely different.
Oh, that's interesting. So you said you did or didn't go on board a ET ship?
Yeah, so I've had two what people would call abduction experiences. For me, they were beautiful, absolutely beautiful experiences. There was nothing abducting about it. The first one was I basically was, there's a guy who I was following called Jerry Sargent. He's in the UK. He lives in Cheltenham, and he does a lot of work with ET channels, ET meditations, things like that, how to connect with your star family. And he got an Arcturian download about how to connect and actually connect with your ETs and your ET family. And it was a very specific meditation I did about 3-4 years ago. I was in the flat alone at the time. And you basically take yourself into a holographic universe, and you have to use a lot of geometry. I could find the link, and you could probably put it up on your below the video. I think it still exists. And I was basically envisioning going on the craft and wanting to go on the craft. And anyway, that I could envisage a craft in my mind, but I wasn't going on it. And then I basically went to bed that night, and got onto the covers. I put on binaural meditation, 432 hertz, and I got into bed, and I seemingly fell asleep almost instantly. And when I woke up, it felt like I was going to get up and go to work. It felt like the next day. And it felt like hours had passed, but only like 15 minutes had passed. And I felt like I'd had a full night's sleep. And I ran downstairs to go and say goodbye to friends and family that had been here, but no one had been here. And it was so strange because I knew someone had been in the had been here in the flat, but I couldn't. I had this overwhelming feeling that someone had been here, and there's more to the story coming in a minute. But so I started, it's crazy, right? I've been asleep for 15 minutes, and yet I felt like I've been asleep for hours. And then I woke up and I was like checking all the rooms, like, where are they? Where are they? Where are they? I was like, it's like I need to say goodbye to my friends and family who had just been here, but I couldn't, and I felt really upset about it. And anyway, I didn't think anything of it. I thought maybe I'm going crazy. And then my mentor, who guided me, was part of a black military project. She's very, very psychic. She called me up the next day and she said, you're not going to believe this. And I hadn't spoken to her in quite a while. Hadn't spoken to her. And she called me and said, you really need to go and get a past life regression ASAP, because you were on board a craft last night. I think it's Arcturian. And they were just checking you over. And I said, well, that's really, I kind of believe that, because I laid down and then I had missing time and I went somewhere and I don't know where I went. And then I felt like someone was in the flat and then they weren't. And last night was weird as hell. So she was like, yeah. So, and then another time was, again, I fell asleep very, very quickly. And I went into this dream where I was taken back to my parents' house, where they live in the middle of nowhere, basically like on the edge of a cornfield, on the edge of Cambridgeshire. And I was taken there, but it was so vivid. It was like not a dream where things are ethereal and 4D. It was like I was actually there, standing on the edge of this cornfield, at the edge of the perimeter of where the garden is. And this huge ball of light came up on the horizon. And all I can describe it is as just overwhelming, unconditional love, just showering over me. I mean, I could feel it in my dream. It's like, when you have an orgasm during sex, but so much more kind of, okay, well, so much more, kind of like family, just so much more beautiful. And when I woke up the next day, my girlfriend looked at me and nearly jumped out of bed because all my hair, when you rub your jumper like this and you get static and you put it here and all your hair goes on end. Like when you put, you see those kids and they put their hands on one of those electric balls. I can't remember. It's got a Van de Graaff. Mm-hmm. My hair was like that. It was all standing on end. And my eyes were wired, like my pupils were massive. And she said, my God, are you all right? And I said, yeah, I dreamt like I was on this craft last night and everything. And she said, and then she touched me and she got like electrocuted. And I went downstairs and I turned the TV on and it was like like it wouldn't turn on. I touched the light bulb and it blew up.
Wow.
I went into the kitchen and I turned on the electrical hob and it blew up. It's still broken. I still can't use it.
Oh my God. How long did this last?
So, and that was, so I went through a phase of having this all the time and also having and then after that, I got very, very psychic. So I would dream about things. I dreamt that my boss, during this time, my boss was going to come into work and he was going to ask me and another guy to play football with him and his children. And I remember having this vivid dream. And then I said jokingly to a friend of mine, very tall Russian guy in the office, I said, yeah, he said, how are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. We were having lunch. I said, yeah, I had this crazy dream that Nick is going to come in today and he's going to say, do you want to come play football with me and my kids in the park across the road from the office? And then we get to the end of the day at 6:30, and we were drinking a beer, a can of Foster's in the office canteen, and Nick comes in and he's talking to someone else, and then the Russian guy ends up talking to him, and Nick asks the Russian guy, "Hey, look, me and my kids are going to be playing football in the park across the road. Do you want to come join?" And the Russian guy, I remember his look to this day. He turned round, he looked at me, his jaw like wide open, like he's seen a ghost. And I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Nick just asked me to go and play football with his kids in the park across the road."
Right.
So the thing is, when you start having these experiences and going on craft and hooking up with ETs and stuff, a little piece of them rubs off on you, and the electromagnetic spectrum stuff and the energy stuff rubs off on you. And there's a lot of people who have experiences with greys, and then they suddenly become more telepathic. A lady who I interview on my YouTube channel called Althea, she had an experience with greys. She woke up in the middle of the night and there were two grey beings, and then they pushed her back down on the bed, and then months later on she could start channeling light language. So this is not unheard of. It happens quite a lot. So yeah, I mean, the greys, into you were saying, how many aliens are there, how many different species? It's like reptilians. There's good and bad reptilians. There's like the greys. There's good and bad greys. A lot of greys come from, some of them come from Zeta Reticuli. There's Zeta A and Zeta B. Some of the more bad ones that work with the reptilians come from B. So, we have quite a basic concept of who these aliens are. I've just saved something I want to look at just quickly, just to touch on that. You get all the Nordic races, like so you get the Pleiadians, and then you get the Tallwhites, the Vesuvians, and then the Agarthans.
So are these reptilians that people say that the Cabal, the Illuminati, that we're all taking down, the spiritual warfare that we're in right now, they come from reptilians? Is that the case? Do you know about that?
Yeah, so you need to look at the social structure of how this all works. So at the top of the structure, you have like a kind of, I want to say like a dual thing, but it's actually more like three people right at the top of the structure. So you've got like the Anunnaki, otherwise known as the Sumerian gods, and the reptilians at the top. And then they created all the bloodlines, the royal families and stuff like that. I mean, like Anunnaki, bloodlines, all of it. And the presidents are like way down here in terms of power in the world. There's a lot of things that presidents don't know about. Like there's people in like the US military, when like Trump and people say, "I want to know what's going on in Area 51," and one of these top generals will come in and say, "You don't need to know about that." So there's levels and levels and levels way above presidential level, but it starts with like reptilians and Anunnaki who can take on human form, and then they create all the bloodlines, the royal family, stuff like that. And then you get the black military operations, Area 51, Nellis Air Force Base, the stuff going on, Pine Gap, blah, 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 blah. It just goes on and on and on. And then you get like large corporations. Some of the CEOs of these large corporations know all about the ETs. Then you get governments and presidents and things like that. And then it just filters down to like the people on the street. So there are levels and levels and levels and levels and levels way above president. Black military.
Can you tell who is taking on human form? Who in today's world is a reptilian taking on a human form?
Well, reptilians can actually take on holographic human form. So they can, they call them shape shifting. So they're not actually shifting their body. They just use a hologram. So I think, there's a very famous case. I think it's Billy Corgan, who's the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins. He's actually openly come out and said, I've actually experienced this. It's real. And they actually dropped their shield, and I actually saw it for real. He's actually come out. Others have too. Some of them have actually been killed talking about it. Reptilians usually like to work in deceitful ways and cloak themselves. They can also come in the astral. They work in the 4D. Because we've been tampered with genetically, we do have a part of our brain is reptilian, so they can come in the sleep and attack us. That's how they get in. So you want to deactivate any reptilian soul contracts and things like that, and keep yourself safe at night. The Anunnaki, otherwise known as the Sumerian gods, they also came here 250,000 years ago, 300,000 years ago, and they were very present here in the Sumerian sort of place in the Middle East. There's still a lot of hidden treasures and things there that are going to come out big time quite soon. So you've got a lot of interfering ET races that have come down, and then also you've got like Egypt was very heavily influenced by the Syrians and Atlantean energies. Lemuria was born out of the Pleiadians, who came and originated the new human in Lemuria, and they put a little piece of their DNA in us, so that we have 24 chromosomes. So basically 23, and the 24th is actually quantum, but eventually science will catch up with that. And so there's a lot of different ETs. They've all played different parts, some good, some bad.
Yeah, the good and the bad ones. And some are here to play in the dark side in today's world. And then there's good ones there to help us with the ascension process, correct?
Yeah. So the ones who basically, there are galactic and divine laws of non-interference. You can't mess with those laws, otherwise you get into quite big trouble, because there are laws out there. There are laws outside of our planet, and these ETs have councils, and they have their own rules and sets of systems. And you can look up John Hellier. He talks about this, the Canadian Defense Minister, who helped talk about the ETs that they've come out. You can look up John Hellier disclosure, and he's wearing a yellow tie, and he's talking about the cabal, and he's basically saying the ETs are real, and the cabal and everything else. And he was one of the first major guys to come out. John Hellier talks a lot about the ETs and the Galactic Federation, but there's many federations. That's just one, and they have rules and things, and there are laws of divine non-interference. And it basically says you can't come to Earth and just mess with us, because there will be consequences. So the reptilians did that. They've all now been booted off, and a lot of these people who are reptilian people in Hollywood or royal bloodlines, are certain. There are good ones and bad ones, but there are ones who have hunting parties with kids, and they rape and they do terrible things to kids. I won't go into too much details. I don't want to get this video demonetized, and they breed kids for adrenochrome and all that kind of stuff. And then there are some
reptilians that have come, and have they taken on the human form and they're doing that, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, there's only a very small percentage of reptilians who take on human form, but a lot of them actually create bloodlines who then do the work for them. So like the Solvay family, they were a big industrial family who were part of the Mothers of Darkness castle in Belgium, where they did a lot of terrible things to children and witchcraft stuff there. And they're partly involved in helping to put all the fluoride into our water system and things like that. So when you look at all these groups like Majestic 12 and stuff, I don't know if they really still exist, but there are basically, there are factions out there who are working underneath these factions to help suppress us, conquer and divide us. Some of the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, things like that. All these guys are aware of ETs, and they know they're fully aware about ETs, and have for a very long time. Prince Charles knows about ETs. Reagan knew about ETs. When Steven Spielberg came out with I think it was the ET film, ET Go Home. I think that was 1982, and Reagan actually invited him to the White House to do a private screening so he could see it. And when there's a very famous conversation from Steven Spielberg and Reagan said to Steven Spielberg, as Spielberg has been trying to tell us that ETs are real for a long time. I mean, ET, Close Encounters of a Third Kind, War of the Worlds, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. I mean, all of his films, ET, But I mean, Reagan came up to Steven Spielberg and he said, Steven Spielberg went up to Reagan and said, so do you think ETs are real? Because I have my own opinions on them. And Reagan is historically known for saying, we know they're real, but I can't say anything more than that right now.
Right. Well, I think they've known for a long time, but no one discloses that ever.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I was going to ask some of the questions. You want to? Is there something else you want to finish with that thought before we?
Yeah, no, I can't remember what I was going to say. I've got a whole lot of notes here. I want to talk about things that people might find interesting too, but slam some questions at me and we'll mix it up as we go.
Okay. A lot of questions I think about starseed. What is a starseed and how do you know if you are a starseed?
Okay, this is going to sound really generic, and this is probably not going to want. This is not the answer that people might want to hear. But if you are basically researching star seeds, and if you think you might be a star seed, and you felt a little bit different your whole life, you probably are. And if you're,
people,
yeah. If you are a little bit telepathic, or you've had strange experiences happen in your life, or you've been the black sheep in your family, or you've always things have unexplainable things have happened to you, or these are all things that pertain to potentially being a starseed. There are a lot more, but yeah, if you're basically questioning your reality quite a lot and thinking, you know, are aliens real? Or they don't like being called aliens, by the way. They like being called family and extraterrestrials.
ETs, right?
There are things you can do. I'm building a global starseed database where I'm working with a woman in Egypt who lives near the pyramids, and she basically, her name is Nazama. We can put the link in your video, but basically you can go to her, and she's a professional Akashic reader. So it's not like just a freebie thing where you tip up and she'll give you pay her some money, and she'll read your full Akashic record, tell you all the ET lives you've been in, like what you did. She'll draw them for you. Like it's like a proper pro setup. And then you can come to me afterwards, and I'm linking all the star seeds up all around the world at the moment. So I'm taking, I literally have, I know a lot of people emailing me every day, and I'm putting them on the database. All the Arcturians I'm linking up in America, and I'm linking up all the Syrians and the Orions and people, because you can sometimes get a closer bond with your own kind. So, you know, finding out that you're a star seed, you know, you've got to do a little bit of research on what star seeds are and all that kind of stuff. But just the very fact that you are asking and wanting to know about it designates the fact that you very highly likely are. And then that's just the start of your journey.
You said I was Arcturian, didn't you?
Yeah, my Arcturian mentor said that you have Arcturians and Arcturian entities around you. Yeah.
Nice. So my ET friend Perry that I told you about, but he's a gray. He's not Arcturian. Okay. Why do the ETs want gold? Do they want gold?
Yeah, that was the Anunnaki. So the Anunnaki supposedly came down to Earth, because Anunnaki means from heaven whence they came. So Anunnaki is actually a human term. It is not the term that they give themselves. Now, I know someone that knows their real name, and they won't give it to me because the Anunnaki don't want their real name coming out. So there are still a lot of, they're still fairly well hidden. The Anunnaki come from a lot of different places. Everyone's heard about Nibiru. But basically, so the story goes, Nibiru's atmosphere was failing very, very badly, and they were getting too much radiation from the cosmos, and they needed something that like a gold shield. Gold reflects radiation very, very well. So they supposedly came to Earth, and they wanted to mine a lot of minerals and things from Earth, because they basically wanted to suck a lot of gold out of Gaia, planet Earth, or a Gaia, Earth, whatever you want to call it, because they needed a radiation shield around their planet Nibiru. And they've actually got a few different homes, but that's the main one. You know, gold is of no material wealth to Anunnaki. I mean, they've got technologies and things like hundreds of thousands a year ahead of us. They couldn't care less about gold, but they use it for properties and things like that. So that is why I think your friend was asking about the gold thing. Is linked to the Anunnaki, but that was in the Sumerian times in the Middle East.
Okay, so no moss. You just said Nibiru. Someone was asking about the story. It wasn't the Nibiru planet that's supposed to, I don't know what the story is about. It's outside of Earth. They're going to crash into each other, or there was some recent story about Nibiru. Do you guys, anyone in the chat, have any information on that? Do you know what I'm talking about, Alexander?
Yeah, I mean, Nibiru is a big red planet, 10 times the size of Earth. It is supposedly home of the Anunnaki. I also have a friend of mine who says that a lot of the really, really bad souls have actually been taken off planet, have been taken to Nibiru to be set, basically set straight, set right. Nibiru has a massive, huge elliptical orbit that comes back into our solar system, I think, every 3,600 years. I could be wrong. I'm sure someone in the chat will probably update me on that, but it's something around there. So you get the return. It's called the return of the Anunnaki because it's basically the Nibiru coming back in. And they think sometimes that every 3,600 years or whatever the number is, basically when it gets so close to our Earth, it messes up our gravitational field and the water on Earth so much that you get floods and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's what they're saying. It was some prediction that some major catastrophe could happen regarding Earth and Nibiru.
yeah, it's not going to happen. In fact, the Anunnaki, I think from what I'm hearing, are back now or have already returned, and they're basically clearing up because the Anunnaki, they've got a lot of infighting right now. They're fighting each other. So they
Like
created some really badass karma on Earth over the last 300,000 years, and they're coming back to clean it up, but also to clean up a lot of the damage that's been done to some of their soul groups. So there's a lot of cleanup going, not just for humans, but for a lot of the ET races as well. So as above, so below.
We're all in this together. You think we'll see more of these ETs surface, and we'll see the starcraft, the spaceships this year?
Well, I mean, spaceships are appearing in our atmosphere more and more and more. Yeah, exactly. They've been appearing in our skies for thousands, well, millions of years, actually. If you look at some original oil paintings by some of the masters, you can go back and there's actually ET's craft in the sky. You could talk, I can't remember the name of it. I think it's ET craft in original oil painting. There's a lot of coins in history, which the deep state and cabal have been hiding from us with ET faces and things on it. In Barcelona, in Spain, there is an actual astronaut on one of the cathedrals there wearing a spacesuit, and that was built so like 300-400 years ago. So all throughout our history, there are ET things going on. There are, it's a long story, but basically you can see all these things, but they're trying to cover it up. Now, when the Anunnaki came down to Earth, there was an abomination because they basically started mating with the natives. So when you get a human and an Anunnaki, you get something called the Nephilim, which are basically these giants. So these giants have been dug up, these massive skeletons, which are absolutely colossal.
Like so Bigfoot, is he between an ET and a human?
Bigfoot is something totally different. That's the Kashkai thing. That's something that I think you have in the States, but that's a totally different entity. But the Nephilim were big giants, mostly from Sumeria and around there. And every time an archaeological dig digs up one of these massive, like 8 foot, sometimes 12 foot, suddenly you get Men in Black appearing, the CIA, it's all wiped out. And then they get rid of all the skulls and everything. So, but we're gonna be seeing a lot more about that as time goes on. So more truths are going to be coming out because there are a lot of archaeological finds and things. You know, like let me put this idea to you, okay? This is how crazy, you know, in an age of lies, everything is a conspiracy theory. Because that's what the CIA and the NSA, they want you to believe, that in an age of lies, everything is a conspiracy theory, right? Mm-hmm. So let me put this idea to you. So imagine
you're crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So imagine we didn't know about the dinosaurs. Yeah. Imagine we didn't know about them. So we just think it's always been humans on Earth, right? And then someone digs up a dinosaur, say 100 years ago. What the hell? There's massive reptiles bigger than a house walking around on Earth. Like people wouldn't believe it, right? People would think it's fake. So is it so hard stretch of imagination to believe, well, actually there were humans, which were giants, at least they were humans. But no, they want to cover that up because it doesn't fall into the narrative that you've been sold. So people are okay to go with the fact that there were reptiles walking around bigger than your house, but they're not prepared to believe that there were giants walking around that were actually humans. Let that sink in for a sec. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I completely concur. So what if I wanted to have a baby with an alien, with an ET? How do I make that happen?
Well, it's already happening. There are people who agree. There are people who agree to come to Earth. It's known as the hybridization project. A friend of mine was part of the hybridization project. Sometimes, often you pre-agree to do it before you come as a human. It's something mostly women do. And what happens is a lot of women around the world, they don't talk about it because it's very, very taboo. It happened to a friend of mine, but they get pregnant.
Your friend has an alien baby?
A lot of people do. A lot of people do. Yeah, it's called the hybridization project. There are actually entire Facebook groups designated just to survivors of this and support groups for people who have lost their children. So what happens is they get pregnant. They don't know why. They don't tell their husband or their boyfriend, but they know they're pregnant. And then 3 months in, they lose the child, and they don't know why, but they have a dream that they've been on a craft and all that kind of stuff. And then in the years that follow, often these women, they will have dreams they will see the child growing up in their dreams over the years. And sometimes, if they're very lucky, the child will come actually to Earth and they'll get to meet it. And a woman who I interviewed called Mary Rodwell, who's Australia's #1 ET researcher, she said that there was a woman who had this experience. She lost her child at 3 months, and I get tingles when I've got goosebumps when I'm telling this story. She had a pregnancy and she lost the kid at 3 months, and she never told. A lot of these women usually never tell their husbands because they don't believe them, because it's too unearthly, right? That doesn't happen.
Or how do you get pregnant?
And then she basically, it was part of the Lyran felines, because some of the Lyrans were feline looking and they bred with the Pleiadians, and you get feline looking Pleiadians. That's another thing altogether, but they can look a bit cat-like. And she had these dreams for years afterwards that she had a child that had like cat-like features. And she was on a plane, an internal flight going from somewhere in America, I think from one side to the other. And as she was getting off the plane, she was the very, very last person getting off the plane. And when she was asleep on the plane, she had this dream that she saw this child with these cat features. And the child said, "Mommy, I love you. And I want you to see me. I want you to know that I'm real." So as all the air hostesses were at the front of the plane, she heard a noise at the back of the plane, and she looked round, and there was a child facing the other way, and the child turned around, and it was like a cat-looking child with cat features, and it was the child that she's seen in her dreams. And then the child vanished. So she actually saw, and there's a lot of reports of this. People don't talk about it, but I'm very lucky because my mentor was an Anunnaki Zeta hybrid. She was part of a military Black Ops program, so she was born and grown in an underground base in America. And she put me in touch with another reptilian hybrid who I interviewed on my YouTube channel. She was abducted by the military for years and years. So I built a little group of really quite astounding people around me where we share stories and they teach me things all the time. But, the human race, the average Joe, the citizen walking down the street, my God, they're so shielded. They haven't got a clue what goes on behind closed doors or in these underground military bases. I mean, everyone's just drinking the fluoride and watching their favorite sitcom on TV and eating their microwave dinners and drinking the Kool-Aid. We're so brain dead as to what's really going on.
Yeah, and if you're not ever, sorry, go ahead.
People are only just starting to wake up. So,
yeah, well, some people don't believe in ETs at all, which is shocking. But I guess if you were raised in a certain environment when you just think that this is it, they're only humans. exist in this
Well,
galaxy?
let's play with some figures, yeah, because people find it hard to believe some of these things sometimes, and people like, well, I'm struggling with this, so let's play with some numbers. I wrote this down a little bit earlier on because I want people to get this, play with this concept in their head. Okay, so astronomers and people in NASA are real people. This is not like just ET UFO conspiracy theories. Like astronomers and NASA people estimate that there are roughly 100,000 million stars in the Milky Way galaxy, right? 100,000 million stars in the Milky Way. That's just our galaxy, part of our galaxy, right? That's a huge number.
Huge.
So outside of our galaxy, there are millions and millions of other galaxies. So we're talking like trillions and trillions, trillions of galaxies, stars. They calculated that there could be more stars out there in the observable and non-observable universe than grains of sand on Earth at this moment in time. So if you basically look at the probability of how big the universe is and how many different scenarios there could be for an Earth-like planet, and this is just the basic ones. I'm going to talk about some other ones in a minute, but let's just hone it down to a point where non-believers can understand this.
Yeah.
Planets that are just in the right livable space away from a star or a sun where life can grow, right? So you're telling me that in trillions and trillions of basically chances, we're the only people in the universe. It's not mathematically, it's not even possible.
I agree, but I think it takes getting used to hearing it so people can wake up to there is more out there. And that's why we have people like you spreading some truth bombs.
Yeah. But I mean, go on. So if you've got a question, you fire and I'll come back to stuff.
Yeah. And look at your notes too. I just want to make sure I'm not missing people. I want to make sure they get their questions answered. What does he know? Frank is asking, what does he know about gravitics? I don't even know what that is, or anti-gravities. What do you mean gravitics?
Okay. So the industrial military complex and the industrial military complex have a, sorry, go on.
Is that the right word? Gravitics? That's how it's spelled.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. I mean, it's I've heard, that's fine. The military industrial complex have an anti-gravity craft. They actually have loads of anti-gravity craft. They have it's a triangle called the TR3B. You can actually look it up on Google. It's open knowledge. They're not even hiding it anymore. They've actually had anti-gravity technology since about the late 40s. And that's why a lot of people don't want to believe this stuff, because they don't want to have to deal with the concept that, wait, I've been lied to, my father was lied to, my grandfather was lied to, his great-grandfather was lied to, but I they've had reversed ET technology and shared technology with the Greys. That President Eisenhower actually did a deal with them. So we've been using hydrocarbons, we've been using oil, we've been using all this stuff. Great for economies, but we've been using all this stuff. And yet we've had free energy since 1947. People don't want to believe that because it's just like, we've been so lied to and manipulated that people don't even want it. They ignorance is bliss at that point. So
there's a lot of ignorance is what's going on right now.
Yeah, but I mean, I mean, if you found out tomorrow that your whole reality was a lie, I mean, that would your psyche is quite a delicate thing. Your psychology, right? That could lead you to have a mental breakdown. That's why a lot of the truths, they're going to be coming out soon. We're only going to be hearing about 20% because the public just would have mental breakdowns. They're not ready to handle it.
Do you think it'll ever all come out?
I think maybe in hundreds of years' time, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'll still be alive.
Oh yeah, you'll be alive. You'll still be alive. Your soul will be alive, whether you incarnate here or someone else, a different perspective. But yeah, so anti-gravity. Sorry.
I might still be Kelly Rivers here on Earth.
Yeah, you could be if you get into one of these chamber crystalline
Med
chambers or the med beds. Yeah, apparently they're coming too. So anti-gravity has been knocking around for a long time. And I'll just finish off. Sorry, Kelly, before you finish. So the TR hyphen 3B basically can shoot. It's a man-made craft. It is some reverse ET technology, and it can fly right up out of the atmosphere. It can go to the moon and the Mars moons, and it can also go in the oceans. It can go underwater just as easily as it can in the air.
I was just going to say, you can in 5D, can't you choose to live, be here or not be here? You can. There's no aging in 5D. Is that true?
5D is a much higher resonance. And when your cells and your cellular makeup are resonating at a higher frequency, they don't have the cell deterioration that you do in a lower frequency. So you live much, much longer. That's why ETs can live a very, very long time. Also, it's helped by the fact that they don't have nicotine, caffeine, like recreational drugs in that system, and all this stuff, which age us exponentially. Right. The blueprint and the design for the human body, we're made to live, up to 300-400 years. We're not made to live to 85 and die. It's the system and the toxins we're living and eating and breathing that are making us unwell.
The beliefs we have and the struggles and the pain and the suffering. I mean, I think that's worse than anything.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But also don't forget, you have an intelligent body. You don't have to tell it what to do when you wake up in the morning. It just does it for you. But that is also the problem. That is also the problem when you don't take command of your own body, and also your body is listening. The cells in your body can hear you. They talk your language. So when you talk to your body, sometimes you can heal yourself by talking to your own body. If your legs are hurting, this sounds crazy, but try talking to yourself like legs, listen to me. I really need to work with you. Like, I need you to stop hurting, or I need you to do this. Your body is listening to you, but we've lost that contact with ourselves, spiritually with ourselves. We don't have the spiritual connection with ourselves and our body anymore. So the body just runs riot from the day we're born. The body just keeps ticking over. We're not in control of it. We just keep, putting all these toxins. And then one day, you got cancer, or you got this, or you die at the age 85. But actually, we're the boss of the body. And you can interact with your own cellular, the cells in your body. You can talk to your cells. And the way the resonance that you vibrate at massively helps you deal with that. So talking to your body and having a high vibration is also part of that as well. I mean, the Anunnaki have an incredibly high vibration. So they, some of these Anunnaki can live up to hundreds of thousands of years. So, but in Sumerian times, like Enki, Anu, Marduk, all these names that you can look up, the Sumerians, they come back. They're still alive. So, time for them is very, very different. If you send a rocket out, I think it was Einstein talked about this, but if you send a rocket out into space at the speed of light for 20 years, and then you come back, if you send a rocket out at the speed of light for a year, and then you come back, you've only been gone a year. But when you come back, it's like been 50 years on Earth. So everyone has aged. You come back, you've only grown a year, but everyone's aged. So a lot of your friends and family have died. So if you look at low resonance, you get things degrading very, very quickly. And time is different in different frequencies and resonances and electromagnetic frequencies, but it also affects your DNA and how long you live. So also don't forget, the pharmaceutical companies and the bloodlines and the royal families, they do very well to keep us sick and keep us dependent, because it keeps us dependent on the state and the pharmaceutical companies and all the, it's all ties in.
It's got to take care of our bodies, mind, body, and spirit. Okay. What are star seeds? We ask. Oh, someone said, where does Bigfoot come from? But you kind of answered that, did you?
Yeah, I mean, Bigfoot is they have parts. They have national parks in America where they have it fenced off, and they know that they're out there. You can't go in there. So I don't know much about them, but I know a lot of people see them. And a friend of mine, as I said, so I have a quite unique community of people, but he saw one on his property in Montana, and
Oh yeah.
he was way in the distance, and he said this thing was about 12 foot high. So he had a picket
Oh,
fence.
cool.
He had a picket fence, so this thing was 4 times the height, and they saw each other from a distance, and this thing vanished in a heartbeat.
I think there's a lady that speaks with Bigfoot. I don't think it's Joan Ocean. Joan Ocean speaks to dolphins, and she communicates with them, and you can go out in the ocean with her in Hawaii. She may also have a Bigfoot connection, but there's different people that do that. It's very cool. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Some starseeds, like myself, keep coming back in each life, and we contribute to the battle against evil, and more importantly, stand up for truth and help those that are oppressed. That was 17 Raccoon said that. So you keep coming back, and some people came back specifically for this time and on the planet to help humanity shift, right? That's what the starseeds are doing, helping everyone else stand.
So some star seeds have been here for a very, very long time. And the star seed thing really kicked off around 1945 when Hiroshima and Nagasaki kicked off. And the ETs were basically looking at humanity, and they were basically saying, oh dear, the children have found the matches and they're playing with them. Now there are the Pleiadians. Basically, they had to go through a very difficult ascension. They blew themselves up. What happens is with a lot of ET races is that ET races seed ET races. So the Arcturians seeded the Pleiadians, and the Pleiadians seeded the Lemurians, and then from Lemuria we have Atlantis, and then we have Agartha, and then we have Egypt, and so on, so forth. And early on in the developmental stages of some civilizations, they come across atomic energy, and if they have a negative trajectory going forward, they will blow themselves up and kill themselves with it. So you only get so many tries with that kind of thing before Creator Source or other ETs basically say, no, we're starting again with this civilization, and they'll wipe a planet out. So this is our 6th try on Gaia. And if it didn't work, there would basically forces would come along and just put a stop to it, like put a stop to the fun and games. So so if you look at, there are also other timelines. You have to remember in 3D, there is in pure 5D, there is and multidimensional, there is no time, but also you have different timelines. So on a different Earth timeline, there were beings like us on Earth that did actually create Armageddon with nuclear war, which supposedly was meant to be the year 2000. And they did blow themselves up. And then they basically, through radiation poisoning and all kind of stuff, turned into a different type of gray. And that's why they have then got together with the mantis beings to basically go back in time so they can take our DNA so that they can make themselves reproduce again. And this kind of stuff, you hear Bashar talk about this, the Daryl Anko channels Bashar, which is an Essassani ET, talking about all this kind of stuff. So you got to think about timelines as well. What happens on Earth affects other ET races because of the law of one. So in 1945, when the bombs went off, it was affecting different timelines and things happening multidimensionally, a big time. And Gaia, otherwise known as planet Earth, basically put out the alarm call and said, right, Earth is in big trouble. They're now disrupting timelines now, which are disrupting other people in different places. We've got to deal with this. But the law of non-interference says, hey, well, you can't just come down here and mess with human timelines, because they've got to take responsibility for what they're doing themselves. So the Galactic Federation said, well, how are we going to do this? Because we can't. So the Galactic Federation basically said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to come in the back doorway, So we're not going to mess with any we're not going to mess with any laws of divine interference. So what we'll do is, hey, Arcturians, do you want to get involved? Yeah, check. Okay. Hey, Orions, Pleiadians, Cassiopeians. Hey, do you want to get involved? Okay, check. So they got all Andromedans. You want to get involved? Okay, come over here. So they started getting all these people, all these ET councils together, and federations, and the Galactic Federation, and they basically said, what we're going to do is, we're going to send we're going to send your soul down, and you'll reincarnate in a human body, but you'll have a much higher vibration. You won't be of the people. It'll be very, very difficult for you. You might not feel like Earth is your home. You might be the black sheep in your family. You might be the person that never fitted in. You might, all these kind of things. And you're going to go down there and you're going to become system busters and way showers. And you're going to help break down the old systems. And you're going to be some of the first, like people like Edgar Cayce and some of the big psychics, all this kind of stuff. And the star seeds. So there's different varieties of star seeds. There are old soul star seeds, and then there are the 3 waves of the star seeds. Now and then you also get the ones who are indigo as well. Like I think I was saying before, you get Nancy Ann Tapp, who was I can't remember the name, but she had a special ability where basically when you eat potato chips, your body doesn't process it as a taste, it processes it as like a shape, like triangles. So when she heard violins, she heard music, she saw the color blue. When she ate potato chips, she could see triangles. But when she looked at the human aura, she could visually see colors. And from around the time after the Second World War, all of these colors that she was seeing, a new color was coming in, which was indigo. And that's where you get indigo children from.
Right.
So you get old star seeds, which are old souls. You get new star seeds, which is part of the 3 waves, the Dolores Cannon 3 waves, the 1, 2, and the 3. And then you get the crystal children, and you get the rainbow children, and then you get the indigos mixed in with all of that. So there's lots of different types of star seeds. I'm an old soul star seeds. There are some star seeds that came here much earlier on because they knew that the great time was going to be around 2012. Or at the changeover of the crossing, or the equinox precession of the equinoxes that the ancients predicted a very, very long time ago. So there are some star seeds that came here a very, very long time ago, and you get these star seeds who are saying this is going to be my last incarnation, and then I'm gonna go back home. You're getting a lot of that at the moment. A lot of star seeds saying, I won't be coming back. This will be the last time I'm going to be here, because they've been here a long time. And then you get the 3 waves who started in around 1945, and the baby boomers, and all that kind of generation. Then you get like my generation, and then you get the 3rd wave, and then the crystal and rainbow children. So there's a lot of different types of star seeds, new ones, old ones, and they're all playing a different part, and they do a different thing.
How do I know which one?
You would be somewhere between a 1st and 2nd wave, but you would be maybe an old. I would say you'd have to get an Akashic reader to look at you, because I don't deal with that. But you'd be somewhere between a 1st and a 2nd wave, and you would be maybe an old soul. But you'd have to get
because of why do you say that? Because of my age, you mean?
Because of your human age, yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And when the question's up, I've got a whole lot of other things that we can run through as well. But I'm happy to keep taking questions. No problem.
Okay, I'm just looking through to see if you guys have any. Jacqueline said a spaceship came to me after I noticed it from a distance. When the ship was above me, they flashed their lights from underneath the belly of the craft at me. What does that mean? For them
this might sound really funny to you, but ETs do sometimes they just want to say hi.
Yeah, they're just saying hi.
Sometimes they just literally. Sometimes they want to say, "Hey, we are your family, and we want to say hi." Also, I want to make something really quite important about people who see ships. Some people who see ships have missing time, and sometimes they don't. But a lot of the time, people who have seen ships, whether they have missing time or not, have then gone on board the craft and they wiped your memory. So a lot of people who have seen ET ships or seen craft in the sky, if they then have a past life regression, they've actually been on a ship. The reason why they wipe your memory is for a couple of reasons. It's because if you basically came back down into your body and you remembered being on the ship, you wouldn't want to be on Earth anymore, because a lot of people, a lot of starseeds are not from here. So if they suddenly turn back up on the ship and they're with their family living in like 5D, 6D, you know,
3D.
and then they come back down to like crappy 3D with like, you know, the cabal running the planet. You know, some of them wouldn't want to hang around here much longer. So they wipe that memory from your cortex for a good reason. And another reason is because we have caffeine and nicotine in our system, and you know, these GMOs and alcohol and recreational drugs and everything else, and you know, very high sugar content. Sometimes it really messes with the way that the crossover of information from our subconscious and superconscious into our conscious. So when it's being processed and getting pushed through things that are very, very deep, sometimes what can seem like you were with family and good ETs on a spacecraft can go through all the toxins and the stuff, our 3D perceptions, and come out as like something that's scary because we don't understand it. So they wipe the memory from your cortex because either it's not good for you to remember it for your own good, or because actually you could remember it as something that's bad when it was actually something that's good.
Yeah, I told you my experience when I was 3 years old. I had the gray ET come visit me every night for a year, and he would take me into a spaceship, and then I don't remember anything as soon as going under the spaceship, and then I would like, it'd be like I'd be ready for school the next day all of a sudden, and he would say bye and drop me back off in my bedroom.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you know how children have imaginary friends.
I had many imaginary friends.
Yeah. They're not imaginary. They are a mixture of some, you know, some kids can actually have psychological issues, which are genetic. It could be schizophrenic, but a lot of them actually have some of them are angels, because they stay with you to make sure you're going to be okay on the earth plane. You know, sometimes you look at young children of the age of 1 or 2, and they'll suddenly look up in the room like this, and they're looking at something, and then you look at it, but you can't see what it is, because they can see something. Yeah, they can see something that you can't see. So sometimes it can be ET family dematerialized, and sometimes it can be angels. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, I just want to make sure there's any other questions.
Is there any more?
I don't think so.
Before we move on?
Nope, you can carry on.
So I don't know where we left off, but I've just written a few interesting things. I've written some notes down here that other people might find interesting. So a lot of our presidents have been aware of ETs. ETs are alive and well, good and bad, working on military bases underground. And you can go and check out Emery Smith. That's Emery with an E, Smith with an S. They've tried to kill him a couple of times because he's a whistleblower, but he was working on those ET bases. You also want to check out Charles Hall. He was a weather specialist working on Area 51, and he was working with the Tall Whites. Some of his stories are quite incredible. The other guy to check out is where's his name? I wrote it down. Boyd Busham. He was working for Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. Lockheed Martin Skunk Works are the aeronautic and technological multi-billion-dollar company, which basically Ben Rich was CEO of. And they're basically producing these anti-gravity technologies like the TR-3B for the industrial military complex. And Ben Rich was CEO of that company, and he even came out. He even came out openly and said, we have the technology to send ET home. He even came out openly said it. And people said, do you believe in ET technology? And he said, yeah, I believe in the ET kind, and I believe in the human kind, because there are two different types. And how you tell them apart is 3D ships and the real ET ships. 3D human ships look like they're from Earth. Okay, so like the TR3B I've been talking about, it's a square, it's solid. Like it looks like something that is solid. You could basically, if it came and landed, it looks like something you could feel or touch, right? It looks physical. Other ships that are man-made have moving parts. The ships that are real ET ships, which are fifth dimensional, sixth dimensional, they often just appear as a ball of light, or they're see-through. So you can't see them because they're multidimensional. So they're in one dimension and they're in another. So I think I was explaining to you the other day, it's like the angstrom units. It's like a fan. It's like, these are how ships dematerialize. So basically, when you switch a fan off, like a rotary blade fan, and it sits still, you see the blades, right? Because they're slowed down. When you switch the fan on, they start speeding up very, very quick. And you can start seeing through them because they're vibrating at a very high level. It's going very, very quick. So ET ships are the same. So the higher something vibrates on the angstrom vibration, it resonates so high that it starts to dematerialize out of the visual spectrum that us humans can currently see at this moment in time. So if you're in a very low vibration, no, your visual perception will only be able to see things in 3D. So you won't be able to see dematerialized ships. Whereas if you're in a very high vibration, or you're in 5D, you're going to be able to see other ships and things like that. I think we were talking about this on the last time we spoke, but and also you've got to have a little bit of faith as well, because if you don't believe in this kind of stuff, and then you go out searching for ETs, you're not going to see them. So you've got to believe. You've got to engage your pineal gland.
I love this stuff. I just want to give a shout out to Shimmer. Sammy says hello to Shimmer.
Hello, Shimmer.
Shimmer. I've never seen a picture of Shimmer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I'm going to see if there's other questions. You can. Oh wait, is my God really an alien or entity?
Well, it's a big question. It's a big question because there is God's source creator. So there is creator that made us all, and the ETs work with creator. The angels work with creator. We work with creator. So you got all the you got the Catholics, the Christians, the Muslims, the Hindus, the Sikhs, so on and so forth. My personal feeling is actually that they're all just praying to one entity, really, at the end of the day. But it can be confusing because a lot of these beings that come from the sky, you get in these different Qurans and Hindu books and the Bible. These beings that come from the sky, there's a much higher propensity for them to actually be ETs and to get mixed up with ETs. So you got to be careful if you're praying to like an entity that came from the sky. It could actually be that an ancient text is actually depicting, we're having some visitations, but actually then there's Creator God who helps organize synchronicities in your life and things like that. Synchronicities can happen to you because you go up in vibration, and you can have synchronicities with ETs, but Creator Source God is actually the one who's basically making
control. And is Creator Source God a being?
Creator Source God is all that is everywhere. It's not a man or a woman. People are like, oh my God, it's a man, or it has to be a woman. The thing is with humans at this moment in time is we're very linear and we're very 3D, and our thought processes are quite basic than what we can deal with mentally, and we have to put everything in a box. And like when we have when you have a telepathic, when two very high vibrational Palladians are talking to two other Andromedans, They're having a telepathic conversation in conceptual ideas all at the same time. So basically what will be happening is, like, humans are very linear. So I talk, then you talk, I talk, you listen, then you say something, then I. So humans are very, very linear. So, you know, these multidimensional beings, they can have a massive conversation all at the same time. And they talk in concepts. They don't say like one word at a time. So when they're channeling, you know, like Cryon or all these other beings, or when they're crying, they have to become much more linear and much more basic in order to deal with us. Right. Whereas we have to become more multidimensional. We have to become more vibrational to channel.
We gotta meet in the middle somehow.
Yeah, you meet in the middle. So I can't remember what your question was, but
is God a being? Is what he asked.
Yeah. God is a being. A being is basically, people would say, is like an entity or someone that is like in a body. God is not like that. God is everything, but also God is pure energy. But also, you know, the saying Namaste. When people are saying Namaste, Namaste is a very old. I think it's a Hindu saying, which basically means the God in me greets the God in you. Mm-hmm. Because creator source energy, basically at the beginning, creator source energy sent out many pieces of itself out into the universe to experience all that was and all that has yet still to happen, to make to make itself bigger and to let the universe grow. So we are part of creator source ourselves. You know, how many times have you heard spiritual people or extraterrestrial people say, you know, we're so powerful, but, you know, we're afraid to use our power. We have a part of God inside ourselves. So the saying, so we are a part of God, quite literally, a little tiny piece. Yeah. So Namaste basically means I am greeting the God in me greets the God in you. Yeah. So we are all part of it. And when we leave our physical vessel, we either go back to our ET councils and we have a recap of what we've done and where we're going and things like that. But we also go back to Source Creator, the whole. And we are everywhere and everything all at the same time.
Do you think we come here to have a certain experience in this human body that we're in, and then if we don't learn our lessons, that we have to repeat it in another life, or you can choose after this life is over, just be like, I'm tired of going back to Earth. I don't want to be a human anymore.
Well, to some degree, yeah. I mean, we do choose to incarnate down here for many different reasons. Sometimes it's a lot of the souls at the moment, it's to help ascension. Some souls come here, other ET souls come here just because they just want to come and check it out and try being human for a bit. I mean, it's literally just that simple. A lot of souls are actually on a very specific mission now at this moment in time to help rise the vibration and get Gaia back into 5D and get all the negativity and the interfering factions out of here. So, you know, people keep going on about starseed missions at the moment in time. Well, the reason why the narrative is so mission heavy with all the starseeds at the moment is because it is very specific at this moment in time. It's very ascension based. Mm-hmm. So, but we also have karma is a little bit different in the new energy since after 2012, and especially now, you know, you can release all your karma in one lifetime. You don't have to keep holding on to it because the energies are not as dense anymore. So you can drop it all now. So you don't have to keep coming back life after life after life anymore. You know, you can do it all in this one. But also sometimes you have to come back in an older energy to also repair karmic damage and unfinished businesses, not only that you have created, but that you have created for other people. So sometimes you're coming back to deal with unfinished business and karma. Sometimes a certain mission. It could be all sorts of things. So it's a big variety.
He has something to say about that, Alexander.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I always wonder that, because people come in here and we have certain people struggle more than other people. And it's like you have life lessons, and it's like, but some people just come here and they don't seem like they have a ton of life lessons to learn. They just sail through, and others it's more challenging. And I guess depends on your mission, right? And right now we all are on the mission of ascension and moving forward out of this duality and this polarity that exists.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to touch on, I just want to touch on a few other things. You know, ETs aren't on Earth at this moment in time. There are, you know, people have this preconceived idea that ETs have 3 eyes and 7 legs and all this stuff. Yes, there are some ETs out there that don't look humanoid, but actually there are a lot of ETs that can embody or look actually very human. You know, people have heard of this, the Valiant Thor, who worked with the CIA, who had 2 hearts and stuff like that. And there's also some other ETs and stuff which actually do look very human. Some of the guys from the Vesuvians, the Venus guys, they actually look very human. The Pleiadians look very human. The Tall Whites, but also there's the Agathans. So Shambhala is the city inside the earth. They have a big smoky sun in there, and they live in the center of Gaia. And the Agathans are very, very tall beings, but they look human. So I hope one day we get to see more of those, because a lot of them are the ancient Egyptians and the people from Atlantis that basically survived the Great Flood 13,000 years ago. So there's a lot more going on. I want to talk a little bit about the moon also, because there are bases on the moon.
Did we ever have a moon landing?
Say that again?
Did you ever have a moon landing?
I actually, I am not 100% sure about that. But what I do know is that it's possible they did. But from what I've heard from the insider information that I have been privy to, is that when Buzz Aldrin and some of the other guys got back, they basically said when we were up there, we were not alone. And they were basically, the deep state and the CIA basically made them a very specific threat. They said, if you talk about this, what we're going to do is we're going to kill you, and we'll kill your daughters, and we will kill your children, and we'll kill your grandchildren. So that's what they often do. So they often make threats like that. So they say, we'll kill you.
Land on the moon, and they saw ETs there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's no surprise that the CIA makes threats. That's shocking. But yeah. I just wondered if you thought it really did happen, the moon landing.
I think it did. I think it did happen, but it's a bit like that specific threat that I just said. You know, with JFK. You know, they said if you talk, because JFK knew about the ETs, and he also wanted to expose it, but he, in pillow talk with Marilyn Manson, Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe. He was, you know, after having, you know, intercourse with Marilyn Monroe, he was saying to her, well, I know about the ETs, and I'm going to expose it. So they knew that they were having that conversation, and lo and behold, a perfectly sane, very happy. Well, she didn't live a totally normal lifestyle, but she was a very sane person. Suddenly has a massive barbiturate overdose. It just doesn't add up.
Yeah, and then he's murdered.
So yeah, I mean, there have been bases on the moon. Go on, you go first.
Oh, you can carry on the moon. I was looking at, someone had asked a question. She wants to know, when you die, do you go to heaven?
Yeah, well, yeah, you, it's not like, so you have to remember, we have man-made, basically, yes, but it's not like, you know, the Ghost film with Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze. It's a little bit different, but yeah, there is a type of heaven. Hell does not exist. There are places that very, very bad souls do go to. They get put there for a while. But basically, you see, a lot of religions are, a lot of people are going to struggle with this. But we have a lot of man-made constructs, which are all about conquering and dividing and controlling. So politics, religion, blah, 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 all these things.
Yeah, power and money. Yep.
Yeah, so basically to keep us basically thinking about other things and divided. So like the churches were basically created to make us believe that there's hell to control us. So you mustn't do this because you'll go to hell. You mustn't do this. Yeah, because you'll go to hell. Hell doesn't exist. Yes, there are demonic planes. Yes, there are places where really, really bad souls get taken to get turned around. But in general, you can be a murderer in this life. I know people won't understand this, but you can be a murderer in this life and you still go back to a form of heaven. But then when you reincarnate, you have a very difficult second reincarnation, and you have to go through some very, very difficult things. So when you die, you either go back to your ET councils or you go back to source creator. You become part of the whole. All of that is, you're everywhere and everything all at the same time. And you leave your body and you're very light.
So you either go back to the ET council and decide what you want to do next in your next mission, right?
Yeah, you get to choose, but also there is false light, because there has been a archonic structure set up around on Earth, whereby some souls have been getting caught up in false light. They go to a light, and then they end up an archonic reptilian false soul contract, and then you get put back into a soul contract that is all about terrible suffering and pain and everything. And you didn't come down here to suffer and have all these pains. So a lot of people have been under false light soul contracts and had terrible things happen to them. So it's a very good idea. If you do think you have a soul contract, burn it up, get rid of it. That's a whole nother video, getting rid of your soul contract and getting rid of your reptilian things. But you can look that kind of thing up on DuckDuckGo. Don't use Google. And so a lot of people, people have been saying that it's a soul prison planet. So a lot of souls keep reincarnating, they can't get off. Well, a lot of those shields have been taken away now. So you can choose what you want to do, whether you want to come back or not. But here's the funny thing. It's quite funny because there's a lot of old souls, ET souls, who have been here for a very long time. And they all say the same thing. They say, I am never coming back to Earth. So when I reincarnate, I'm never coming back here because this place sucks. And I know a lot of the people in your chat room will be thinking and feeling the same, because they know when I reincarnate, I'm going back to the Pleiades, or I'm going back to Cassiopeia, or I'm going to...
Right.
Yeah. So, but a lot of souls are actually more than expected are actually choosing to come back because of the trajectory we're now on, and the future is actually looking amazing.
Right?
Yeah, so all the suppression and all the pain and everything is going to be going away. So it's looking pretty good.
Can you touch on our perception of planet Earth or the Earth plane? That's from David.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Earth plane is basically, some of the big, if you look at some of the most famous universities in the world, just from my mind, things like Harvard and Columbia and, Cambridge University, Oxford University, some of the big, really big famous universities in the world. There might be some other ones in other places. Well, the really big universities galactically are near Sirius A, in that part of the world. But so there are different places where you can come to learn, but the Earth plane is just one massive learning place. And it's one of the hardest schools in this galaxy, Earth. So to come to Earth, you get a lot of these star seeds. You say, well, I'm a galactic commander and I'm a captain on the ship and I'm this, that sounds like a pretty tall story, but it is, some of them have to be, because it takes some of the toughest star seeds souls to come down to the Earth plane, because it's freaking tough down here.
Yes, I don't think you're getting any argument from us.
So imagine you come from a sixth density vibrational, craft or place, or you're fully telepathic. You have telepathic conversations. You're almost a light embodiment, but in a body, and you don't have to deal with this crap. You live 1,000 years, and then you give all that up to come down here. It sucks. So somewhere on a super conscious level, akashically, your body knows this. It's tough being down here. It's very, very tough. So the Earth plane is one massive learning platform, but it's also a huge illusion. And the illusion of the veil is being ripped off us slowly as we're ascending through the 3D world and the earth plane, you know, the matrix we've been living in, the massive illusion that we're alone and that we're going to die at 85 and all this stuff, and we have to suffer, and the illusion of all these dualities is something we go through, but it's also something we learn on a soul level. So yeah, earth is just a big platform, a staging platform to learn and also to help others around us.
The veil lifting, is that where we're realizing that perception is reality, our beliefs create our reality, and we're eventually going to get to that point where we see that we've created the world that we are living in?
Yeah, to some degree. I mean, the way that I like to say that is our inner beliefs are what create your outer reality. So, you know, the reason why we come down with an entourage. All of us have an entourage. Some are ET, some are like the old gods, some are angels.
Family? Is that what your spirit family?
Light family, yeah. So all of us have an entourage. So if there's 8 billion people on the planet, everyone has got anywhere from 2 to 10 to 12 beings around them, trying to help them, angels, ET, and things like that. And they're trying to help us all the time, trying to work with us. You know, when we don't manifest down here, they have great compassion for us because it's so freaking difficult to manifest in 3D. Otherwise, everyone would be a billionaire. Everyone would be something, you know, high vibrational, whatever. Okay, just for example. But when you don't manifest in 5D or 6D, they don't have quite as much compassion because they're like, you should know better. So, so that's why they have a lot of compassion for us down here, because they understand what we're going through, and they've basically given up a lot of our abilities to come down here to help Gaia at this moment in time.
Right. Okay, I don't see any other questions, but we have another. Oh, it's already 1:30. I do have a call at 2 o'clock. I have to get on.
Okay. So if you want to wrap up, I'm just trying to think if there's any other important things to think about.
If you guys have any other questions, please write it in because we are going to end this lovely video. Somebody else's mind may. Okay, I don't know what that means. Somebody else's mind. Mangling mindset, criminally insane, man-made rules regulate. Okay, maybe it's just a comment.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of psychos have been running the world for a long, long time, and they want wars and they want genocide because that makes money and it keeps them in control, and they have absolutely no care for human life. So yeah, you're right on that one, whoever wrote that. That
was Kenneth Gabriel. And David says, are we only seeing part of the earth plane? I feel there is more, as we have seen so much beauty in the places we have traveled where most won't. Yeah, 100%. If you basically go up in vibrational, if you go up in vibration, you know, we can only see so much on the light spectrum, for example. As you go up in vibration, you know, the light spectrum is this big. Yeah.
We see just that little bit.
Yeah.
So as you go up, your third eye opens and you can see more beings. You know, there are literally, you know, cities and buildings and places that you can't see that exist because they're out of your vibrational awareness. So yeah, in answer to that question, 100%.
Like if you do remote viewing, can you do remote viewing?
I've never tried, and it's remote. It's actually very dangerous to do it if you don't know what you're doing, because there are people in the CIA and the NSA. They have professional remote viewers who are just looking out for other remote viewers to shut them down.
Okay.
Also, when you go into the astral and start remote viewing, you can create attachments and cords to quite bad negative beings and things, and you bring them back in with you. So remote viewing is not something you just want to go and try. You need to really know what you're doing. It can be very dangerous.
What if you cloak yourself?
You can, but you need to know what you're doing.
I am. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. All right. Well, do you have anything else before we? Bid farewell.
Yeah, I mean, next time I wrote some notes. I mean, I was going to talk a little bit about who the men in black are, the MIBs, because you also get women in black, a little bit about the Philadelphia Project. I was going to talk about, if you guys don't know, check out Stan Romaniak. He was an ET contactee, but they basically, the deep state didn't want him talking about ETs anymore, so they planted child, you-know-what, pictures on his laptop to basically get him put away. But he's quite cool. He's actually got a Netflix thing on Netflix, Stan Romaniak. Check him out. What else? Charles Hall, check him out. Boyd Bushman on YouTube. He comes out, he's got cancer. He's like 90 years old, and he shows you all the ET pictures. He's really good. What else?
Yeah.
Emery Smith.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Emery Smith, check him out because he's a whistleblower. The Geyser Intelligence, the Viril who worked with Hitler, Valiant Thor, check that out. I'm just trying to think anything at Ben Rich and Alan Hynek. Check him out too. Alan Hynek was, who Steven Spielberg made that film, Encounters of a Third Kind.
Mm-hmm.
So Alan Hynek was a black ops military industrial complex guy who worked on these bases with real live ETs. When Steven Spielberg was going to make the movie Close Encounters of a Third Kind, he managed to find this guy because he said, I need to know how to make this movie. I need to make it I need the real details. How do these ships work and everything? So he was a real guy that worked for the government. He really worked with ETs, and he actually helped Steven Spielberg make that movie. So check him out too. Unless there's any questions, I'll let you round up. But I hope that was a nice little basic intro into ETs and who they are and what they do. And maybe next time we can go a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, for sure. And you guys write in the comments if there's anything that you want us to cover that wasn't covered today, and we'll do it in our next video, which we haven't scheduled yet. We'll get together and then we'll get back to you guys.
Yeah. And anyone can have contact with ETs. All you have to do is meditate and reach out, and you can have it. It's not, you don't have to be special.
I like it. I love it. And it's going to be more prevalent as time goes on, which is exciting.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Oh yeah, that we have ships, loads of ships in the skies right now, but a lot of them you can't see.
I was surprised you said it was a ship yesterday, because it's just a tiny little star in the sky. I was expecting, ships to be big.
Yeah, they can be 25 miles across. They can be hundreds of miles across. Some of the big motherships.
In the sky.
Yeah, I mean, NASA have actually taken pictures of ships going in the sun that are 5 times the size of Earth. And they've actually taken pictures of objects going into the sun, which are like an actual ships.
Yeah.
So yeah, they can be huge.
That's what I expected. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Alexander.